It is so miserable out here. I wish I could just be inside reading a nice book. Hey, nice. It is snowing like a mofo. Seems like the perfect time to get under a blanket, get all cozy, and open a nice book. But which one? Today I'm going to be going through my top 3 books of the year. Not necessarily the ones that were published, but my favorite ones that I read this year. Because it's my video, I can do it how I want. So, first book. This is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. I wasn't ready for this to be as good as it was. If you don't know him, he's mainly known as a comedian. This was a completely different side of him that I saw in the book. It's like a whirlwind biography of a bunch of stories from growing up in South Africa. I think it was right after apartheid. What really got this into the top 3 for me was the fact that he tells all of these stories with such grace, with so much humor. There was some really brutal stuff going on at the time, and yet he finds a way to make it funny. The storytelling ability of this guy is something you just got to admire. 2 main things that really stood out to me in this book beneath like the humor stuff. One that I really connected with was his description of himself as like a chameleon in many different social groups, cultural groups, religious groups. He just had this way of like fitting in all these different things, and that's something that really resonated with me because I've felt that way a lot of different times in my life. There were so many different languages, so many different groups of people, so many different dividing lines between society, and him being somebody who was mixed, he could integrate with any of these different groups at his will. It's just so interesting to hear about this wanderer who makes his way through all these different vantage points of society. The second thing that really stood out to me on a more serious note was his relationship with his mother. You can tell, despite all of the ways that she disciplined him, there's just so much love that he has for his mother and the way that he was brought up. It's really moving, the relationship that he had with his mom. And I really respect him for that, for including the difficulties that his mom went through. He keeps it light in some senses, but manages to tackle some really heavy stories. So 100% recommend that one. Very, very entertaining. Let's put Trevor aside. This is my next pick. This is Coming Alive by Barry Michaels and Phil Stutz. This book basically is a collection of a couple of different visualization exercises. When you get into certain tough situations, you use one of these visualization techniques to put yourself in a more confident, calm state of mind so that you can deal with the problems in your life. The best concept that this book introduced to me is the concept of Part X. Part X is what Phil and Barry call this voice inside you that is trying to ruin your life, basically. It will convince you to engage in all kinds of self-destructive activities, calling your ex, eating junk food, spend all of your time watching TV. What Part X wants is for you to waste all of your potential, just continue your small life, cut off everyone, stop doing anything productive, lose all of your self-confidence, and be a shell of your current self. That's what it wants. And as soon as you realize that Part X is there, like when you give this concept a name, it actually brings you a lot of motivation to fight all those impulses. Okay, that's not me, that is Part X. And Part X is trying to screw me over, so I'm gonna fight that impulse. That has been a huge thing for me this year in overcoming my own self-doubt. For example, when I want to do something scary and this voice in my head is like, it's too risky, what will people think? Are you even capable? And then I can realize, no, that's Part X. Part X is trying to keep me from making my life bigger. That has been the most key thing that this book introduced to me as a concept. One thing I will say about this book, don't take these things literally. Some of the like forces or concepts that he uses, you should see them more as a metaphor This isn't like a religion thing. It's more of a thought exercise. That's the way I saw it, at least. It's also really helpful that in the back, it literally gives you this appendix of these tools so you can boil them down into a usable guide. I'm getting warm from yapping so much. I'm getting worked up. Okay, this last book, I don't have a physical copy of it because I listened to it as an audio book, but it is 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. He also wrote Sapiens, you might be familiar with that. Basically, the summary of the book is that he's taking 21 different aspects of what is going on in the world right now and distills them down into bite-sized pieces. He answers questions like, what is war going to look like in the future? Is AI going to take your job? What is the role of religion in a society that is increasingly secular? How should countries deal with immigration? These questions are not simple ones. I really like his ability to investigate the nuances of different subjects and break it down in a logical way. The normal average person does not have the time or energy to sit around and think about this stuff and keep up with world events and think about the trajectory of our society, because you gotta put food on the table, man. It's definitely not a light read, definitely really, really dense, but I think for the average person, it's as approachable as some of these subjects are going to be. Basically, the biggest concept that blew my mind, if I could explain it super, super quick, you have different stimuli and your body responds by producing hormones, by releasing neurotransmitters. There's all these little signaling molecules that are always moving all around your body. With technological innovation, we are learning how to map the human brain and the human body better and better and better. As medicine gets better, as technology gets better, we're going to be able to anticipate your emotions, your thoughts, your wants, your needs, before you can even anticipate them yourself. Eventually, companies may have the ability to know you better than you know yourself. Your affinity for music will be reduced to a simple equation, a bunch of code that says, this is Aaron's music taste. The algorithms will be able to recommend the perfect content to you in a way that will be received well by you. It's pretty much a big warning about you should get to know yourself and understand the way your consciousness works before the big companies do, because they are not gonna be looking out for you. So that one was the biggest like, oh shit moment for me. Anyways, doomsday scenarios aside, phenomenal read from a really bright author that I definitely recommend. So those are my top 3 books of the year. To be honest, it was a pretty crazy year, so I didn't read that many books. Unfortunately, it was a little bit easy to make this top 3. So I'm hoping to read more books in the new year, have enough time at least. But yeah, let me know in the comments what your favorite book you read this year was. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.